Thank you very much. You have all these senators. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not going to read all their names. I'll be reading all day. We'll be talking about Charlie in about 45 minutes from now. We can't do that. So all of the senators, there's so many of you. Thank you very much. I do want to thank Senator Thune for doing a terrific job. He's really been leading properly. Do you agree, Mike? The team, the two of these guys have been fantastic. So to Senator Thune, I want to thank you very much. Incredible job. I watched him this morning, and he was out there pounding them this morning on television, too. And John Barrasso, thank you for the work you've done, and congratulations on your success. But I want to thank you all and all of the Congress people that are here. And I see we have our Attorney General here, and you are doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Pam. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have everybody. Wow, that's incredible. Okay, I'm not going to do any more. I'm going to be here too long, but I just want to thank you. Have given him such support, but he always gave you such support. That's why you're here. And very unusual. Charles James Kirk was a visionary and one of the greatest figures of his generation. He was truly an amazing figure and growing leaps and bounds. He knew that the fight to preserve our heritage is waged not only on the battlefield and in the halls of power, of which we have tremendous power here, including the head of a place called war. We call it now war. We had defense. We had our Secretary of Defense. Now we have a Secretary of War. And somehow I think it's more emblematic, and hopefully we'll never have to use war, but the fact that we're ready is very good. Peace through strength is very important, but also in the hearts of our nation's youth. That's where Charlie rode strongest. At age 18, that insight inspired Charlie to found the organization that ultimately touched the lives of millions and millions of people, and so many young people that nobody's ever seen anything like it, frankly. Turning Point USA. It's amazing, and it's actually bigger now. It's become bigger in the last few weeks than Charlie ever thought. I think his end vision in many years from now would have been just a fraction of what it turned out to be in a couple of weeks, right? It's amazing. With hard work and joyful spirit and endless enthusiasm and determination. And he did have great enthusiasm. You know, I always say you need enthusiasm to be successful. He had great enthusiasm. Charlie grew Turning Point into the largest conservative youth organization in the entire country. He forged a personal bond with countless young conservatives. He fought for free speech, religious liberty, strong borders, and a very strong and proud America. In everything he did, he put America first. He really put America first. And ultimately, Charlie became more than a leader of an important organization. He became the leader of historic movements all over the country. There were movements, individual movements, one movement, but it was historic. Everything he did was historic, and a true evangelist for the cause of freedom and the word of Almighty God. God was very important to Charlie. He would say, you know, if you don't have religion, you're not going to have a strong country. It's true. He was so wise beyond his years. You know, I talk to him sometimes and say, this guy is like a young guy. He was really a wise man. From the time Charlie worked on my presidential campaign in 2016, and he was there right from the beginning. He liked me. I don't know. I have no idea why. What the hell was he thinking? He said, you're going to win, sir. I said, you know, I'm running against 17 senators and a lot of tough people and governors. We have all these people. And he said, no, you're going to win, sir. He said, not going to be close. And he made it happen. He helped make it happen, I'll tell you that. Without him, who knows what would be. Maybe you'd have Kamala standing here today. That would not be good. I will tell you, Javier, you don't know who Kamala is. Promise, it would not be good. You agree with that, Howard? He also mobilized countless citizens to go vote. It's called Go Vote. Very simple. And with his help in 2024, we won more young people than any Republican by far in the history of our country. And we won the popular vote. We won the swing states, all 7 of them. Remember, they said, oh, well, if Trump could win 4, that would be nice. I win 7 by a lot, by a landslide. But the popular vote was massive. And we won the Electoral College. Remember, they said, well, it's going to be very hard I'd say 270. Well, we got 312 to 226. And then we won something called districts and councils and different things. But in one case, we won 2,750 to 525. That's the one where you see the map is almost entirely red, except they have a little blue line on one side and a little blue line, meaning New York and a little bit Los Angeles. I have a feeling that if the vote were 100%, we would have won that too. You want to know the truth. But he knew, and he knew very well, and he also understood honesty, and he was always concerned with honesty. He said the only way we can lose is if the cheating gets so bad, and that's where we came up with a little phrase, too big to rig. We said, go out and vote. Just go out and vote. And we had that. Remember, we used to say that all the time because people would say, oh, they're going to win. We don't have to vote. Let's go to a movie. We'll come home and watch later. And he wasn't about that. So we come up with really together, we came up with that phrase, we got to make it too big. I never made a speech where I didn't say at the end, now look, the polls are showing good. Don't believe the polls. He said, we're going to make it, Susie, right? Too big to rig. So if you think we're going to win by a lot, doesn't matter. Pretend we're losing. You got to go out and vote. They voted. And at 9:02, the whole thing was over, right? 9:02. Remember they said, oh, this could go a few days. Well, it went a few minutes. 9:02. And he knew that. And I felt it, but he knew it. He knew it. I think he knew it more than anybody. But Charlie never missed an opportunity to remind us of the Judeo-Christian principles of our nation's founding or to share his deep Christian faith. In his final moments, Charlie testified to the greatness of America and to the glory of our Savior, with whom he now rests in heaven. And he is going to make heaven. I said, I'm not sure I can make it, but he's going to make it. He's there. He's looking down on us right now. It's so incredible. Look at this, how this turned out. This was supposed to be so dark and cloudy. Not dark and cloudy, is it? Look at that, how beautiful that is. There's no artist that can capture it as beautiful as it is today. Wow, it's amazing. As I said, on the day that he was assassinated, Charlie Kirk was a martyr for truth and for freedom. And from Socrates to think, and to St. Peter, from Abraham Lincoln to Martin Luther King, those who change history the most, and he really did, have always risked their lives for causes they were put on earth to defend. He was put on earth to do exactly what he was doing. He didn't want to waste time. He would have been a top student at any college in the country. I know the college as well. He's smarter than the guys there. He was so smart. But he almost, I guess, didn't have the time. He knew what he wanted to do. It wasn't like, gee, I want to sit in the classroom for 4 years listening to people teach me liberal principles, because they were never going to teach him that anyway. But he didn't have the time. He really didn't have the time. But every time the enemies of goodness and virtue tried to silence the voice of righteous and noble leaders like Charlie, they failed. They seem to fail. Ultimately, they look like they're doing well, and then they end up failing, because the truth has been unrelenting over the years, over history. And people like Charlie, it's just they've got a power that others don't have, and very few people will ever have. So today, like those martyrs before him, Charlie's voice, his message, and his legacy are stronger and greater than ever before. They are greater than ever before. Look, this is a horrible event, but it brought out the greatness of Charlie. Nothing could have ever supplanted this. It's incredible, the way people are talking about him. And with great love. I mean, I read so many stories about some of the enemies, but I watch the enemies, and it's hard for them to speak badly about him because they just don't. And then you do have people in the days since Charlie's killing, we've seen exactly why our country so dearly needed his example. We've watched legions of far-left radicals resort to desperate acts of violence and terror because they know that their ideas and arguments are persuading no one. They know that they're failing. They have the devil's ideology, and they're failing, and they know it. They feel it, and they become violent. They seem to become very violent on the left. They've rammed vehicles into federal law enforcement, fired sniper rifles at ICE agents, and me, you know. But I made a turn at a good time. I turned to the right. Charlie couldn't believe it, actually. He said, "How the hell did you make that turn?" I said, "I don't know." But fired rifles and threatened the lives of our Supreme Court justices, our great justices. They have to be protected. We just issued a lot of money, $60 million, to protect the Supreme Court justices. Very important. We can't let anything happen. In places of worship, we're protecting our people. We've seen that a candidate for Attorney General in Virginia boasted that he would want to see the Republican legislature, a legislator in Virginia, shot in the head and to see his children murdered. He actually said this. And now he continues to run for office, and most people continue to back him, but he said he wants his man shot. He said shot in the head and to see his children murdered. And they keep running. Pretty amazing, right? That's a bad one. Let's see how that turns out, but that's a really bad one. Nobody's heard that one before. Especially in the wake of Charlie's assassination, our country must have absolutely no tolerance for this radical left violence, extremism, and terror. We're done with the angry mobs, and we're not going to let our cities be unsafe. We're going to make sure our cities are safe. When you have Chicago, where they had 4,000 people murdered over a very short period of time, 4,000 people, and then we have a governor stand up and say, "Oh, things are going swimmingly." No, they're not. We're going to make Chicago safe, just like we're going to make. Look what we did in D.C. It's so nice that we started here, because this was one of the most violent places in the United States. It'd be dangerous to be right out here. But you couldn't go to a restaurant. The restaurants were all dying. The whole place was dying. You'd have these gorgeous, look at the Washington Monument over there. You'd have these gorgeous buildings and monuments and structures. And people were afraid to leave their apartment. They were afraid to go to work. They'd get into an Uber, and they'd feel safe, and then the Uber would be attacked. They thought they made it to safety, and then the Uber was attacked on the trip in. But we've done a great job, and now it's considered a totally safe city. We haven't had problems. It took us 12 days to make it great. We took out, Pam, 1,700 hard criminals, career criminals in many cases, but these are hardened criminals. Many of them came in through the Biden open borders. We brought them back to the countries. And a couple were so violent that we put them in jail. We don't want to take a chance that they could get back in, because no matter how good we do, somebody can sneak in. They were so violent and so bad. One arrested 28 times. Every time he left prison, he'd get into a violent incident. 28 times. And we put him away for a long time. But we're done with the angry mobs. We're done with it. This is such an unbelievable place right now. You take a look where you can walk down the middle of the street with your wife or your husband. Your children can walk. They can walk alone. It doesn't matter. They can walk anywhere in Washington, and they're safe now. If this were a year ago, they'd have a serious chance of being badly hurt, even killed. They'd come in from Indiana, they'd come in from Iowa, they'd come from Florida to see their nation's capital, and somebody would have to call the parents, "I'm sorry, but your son or your daughter's been killed." Not anymore. You hear those sirens going off? That's good. That's a good sound. That means they either got the bad guy or they're going to stop the bad guy. You didn't hear that sound because nobody wanted to do anything. Nobody. Listen to the beauty of that sound. Seriously. And that's the real deal sirens. They're not politically correct sirens. You hear them, they're about 3 miles away. That's great. What a beautiful sound. They're stopping crime. That's what they're doing. So we're done with the voices of fools. They're fools. And death threats, and we're going to make our cities safe. And I thought it was Charlie's, one of his biggest dreams was that. He couldn't believe it. Chicago's going to be a great city again. We've already, we sent people in there 6 months ago, and this governor said, "Well, crime is down." Yeah, that's because we had the FBI in there for 6 months, just preparing it for the bigger surge. And they've done a great job, the cash and the FBI. They've done a great job, and they love doing it, They love being able to do it. They were restricted from doing it. They couldn't do anything. And now they're totally unrestricted. All they have to do is stop crime. and they're doing it. By the way, Memphis, as you know, you heard they went in about a week ago. One of the most dangerous places in the country, really in the world. It's not just the country. They have very few cities that would compare to some of these cities. You go to Afghanistan.
For more news and updates, all you need to do is follow CNBC TV 18 on all of our digital platforms.